friends, it's Christy. Welcome to day 8 of my 2018 holiday card series. Today I'm going to be making a card using some Lawn Fawn stamp sets. I'm using Berry Happy Holidays, Jump for Joy, Trim the Tree, and then little accessories from Cheery Christmas and Bah Humbug. I've stamped out my images in Memento Tuxedo Black ink on some Copic friendly cardstock. This here is Spectrum Noir Ultra Smooth Premium White, but any Copic friendly cardstock will work. And I'm going to be coloring with my Copic markers today. I'm starting with my polar bear, and for him I'm using W00, W1, and W3. I'm starting with that W3 and laying in some quick shadows on different areas of his body where I think that the light would not hit, right around his scarf area and the sides of his head, underneath the scarf as well, and then under his arms and between his little legs. Then I'm pulling that color out with the W1, and then I'll come in with the W00, which is my lightest shade, and pull that out even farther and let that fade off into the white space. This will ensure that he has some dimension to him, but he doesn't end up looking like a gray polar bear. He's still going to look white. And then while I have those markers out, I'm also going to color in the brim and the little pom-pom of my Santa hat. Next, I'm going to work on my Hedgehog, and for his body I'm using E40, E41, and E43. I'm starting with my E43 and laying in some shadows on the bottom of his body and then alongside his spines. And then I'm going to blend that out with the E41. And then the E40 is going to be for my highlighted areas. That's going to be the areas that are sticking out the farthest. So for him, it's the center of his belly and then his face. And then I did go back in and add a bit more of that E43 just to amp up the contrast a little bit. For his spikes, I'm using E40, E47, and E49. In this case, I'm going to actually start with my lightest shade and flick in the E44. I'm going to have to turn my page a little bit to be able to do this. I like to flick away from me, so you can move your paper around and kind of see what's comfortable for you. Then I'm coming in with the E47 and adding some more flicks right on top just to increase that depth. And then I'll finish with a little bit of the E49. And the trick to getting these nice and thin is to just use the very tip of your marker and to hold your marker with light pressure. Again, before I put those markers away, I'm going to color in anything else that I want to be brown, which is just my tree trunk. So I started with the E49 up under the branches of the tree and then blended downward with each of those other two shades. So now I've turned my paper completely upside down to do a technique that I also showed you on day 6 of the holiday card series. This time I'm doing a completely different color palette though. I wanted this tree to look like a blue spruce, so I'm using BG70, BG72, BG75, and BG78. And just like on the Hedgehog, I'm working lightest to darkest now in these sections. And I'm basically just flicking the color from each of those little separated areas. And it really adds a lot of texture to your trees. So again, you may want to try different, arrangements of your paper to see which direction you feel most comfortable flicking. For me, it's away from me rather than pulling towards me. So that's why I've turned my paper upside down. So I started with the BG70 and now I'm working on the BG72, just finishing that off. And then I'll come in with the BG75 and add a little bit more darkness. And you can see that you get just a lot more depth, as you add the different colors. And I'm purposely staying away from the bottom edge of each of those layers because I want it to appear as if there's snow there. And we'll add to that effect later on. The only thing you need to be cautious about with this technique is getting any of that color into the section where it's scalloped there. If you get it into the white, it can be hard to remove, especially when you're adding in the darker colors. So you just want to be really careful to avoid that. Take your time at first until you get the hang of it. And if you have to, you can always clean it up with the Colorless Blender or a white gel pen. But like I said, the darker colors can be a little bit more tricky to cover up. So now I'm just finishing up the tree with the BG79, adding in even more depth with that darker color. Then I'm going to take a white gel pen. This is the Sakura white jelly roll pen, and I'm going to clean up any of those little mistakes, but then I'm also going to kind of flick in some white strokes in the opposite direction, and this is just going to add a little bit more texture on top of what we've already built up with our blue-greens. And this is a step you could definitely skip if you wanted to. I did not do this on the trees that I used on day 6's card, but I just thought it would be interesting to see how it would look, so I wanted to try it out. My red combo is going to be no surprise to anyone who watches this channel regularly. It's my favorite red combo. It's R29, R39, and R59. So I'm going to use that to color in my Santa hat with the R59 in the shadowed area where it's kind of creased, and then blending forward with the other two shades. I'm also going to use my R29 to color in my candy cane and a bunch of other little accessories throughout the card. Next, I'm going to bring in RV13, RV14, and RV17 to add some pops of bright pink. I just thought that would be fun and different for the holidays, and I think it goes really well with the colors that I used on the blue spruce. I'm also going to use those shades to color in the bear's scarf, starting with the RV17 and kind of adding some depth on the outside edges of the scarf and also where it's kind of folded over. And then I'll pull that color out with the RV14 and fill in everything else with the RV13. I wanted to add in some turquoise, so I'm using BG45 and BG49. So I'm going to do this gift on the end. I love the combination of turquoise and red together, so I thought that would be real pretty with the red bow. I'm also going to use those shades to color in one of the Christmas ornaments, and then I'll color in one of the light bulbs on the strand of lights as well. Next, I'm going to add in a peach tone with R01 and R02. I wanted to color in the little ear of the hedgehog and then also one of the light bulbs on the string of lights and another one of my gifts. So I'll start with the R02 on the bottom and then blend toward the top with the R01. Add in a bit more R02 for some more depth, and I'm also going to color in the other Christmas ornament with those shades. And I'll also use that R02 to give both my polar bear and hedgehog some rosy cheeks. And I soften that up on the polar bear with the W00. The last color combination I'm using is BG10, BG11, and BG13. So it'll be an aqua shade that's just a little bit lighter than the turquoise that I used earlier. And I'm going to color in this little center gift, and I'm also going to use those shades to color in the bird. I'm starting with the BG13 for the shadows and then blending up with the BG11, and then right around his face I'll fill in with the BG10. And you may have noticed that I skipped the polar bear's ice skates, and that's because they're not even going to show on today's card. So now I'm coming back to my white gel pen and just adding a few little details. I'm adding some polka dots and some stripes on some of the gifts and the bows, and also a little shine mark on the ornaments. And then I'll trim all these out with the matching dies. For my focal panel, I've used the Lawn Fawn stitch scallop rectangle frames to die cut some pattern paper and also a piece of red cardstock. I'm going to use the insert of the pattern paper inside the outer portion of the red frame, And I just flip that over to the back, and I'm taping that into the frame with some leftover Post-it tape. I use this to hold my dies in place when I die cut my images, and then I reuse it a couple times, and then when it stops being as sticky, I can use it for things like this. So now that fits perfectly inside the frame, and I'm also going to add a white snowdrift on top. And this was trimmed down with the stitched hillside borders from Lawn Fawn. Then I can begin to adhere my images. I've trimmed off the right side of my tree so that it can fit flush inside that frame and kind of look like we're focused in a little bit tighter on the scene. Then I'm going to grab my polar bear and tuck him behind the tree so that it looks like he's popping out. And I realize he's wearing a pink scarf, but I started calling him before I decided what color his scarf was going to be, so I'm just trying to be consistent. But anyway, I'm adding the stack of gifts in front of the tree trunk, and then the little bird is going to sit on the turquoise one on the end. And I wanted my hedgehog to look like they were in the middle of decorating the tree and he got all tangled up in the lights. So I'm trying to fit that around him, and I'm going to just tape that into place from behind with another piece of that Post-it tape, and then I will glue him down to the card all together as one. So he's going to go down on the bottom left and be kind of tilted back as if he's been surprised by the polar bear. I'll give him the Santa hat so he looks nice and festive, and then I'm going to add the candy cane into the wing of the bird that's outstretched so that it looks like she's helping to decorate the Christmas tree. I'll add a dot of glue to the polar bear's hand and give her the little extra gift. And I guess I just threw the consistency out the window because now I'm calling her. But anyway, I'll just add my two little ornaments to the tree. And then I'm going to set this panel aside and work on my sentiment. So I've got a piece of scrap cardstock inside my MISTI, and I'm stamping out my sentiment with Lawn Fawn's Manatee ink. And the sentiment is from the Tiny Tags sayings. These are really tiny, cute little sentiments that are great for trying to fit in small little areas. I'm going to stamp that out a couple of times because this does dry back a bit and I want to make sure that it's legible on the final card. Then I'm going to pop my card base into my MISTI and stamp on the inside of that as well. I'm using Hippo ink to stamp out an additional sentiment and a reindeer. I've trimmed down another piece of pattern paper with the Lawn Fawn Stitch Rectangle Stackables, and both of the pieces of pattern paper I used on today's card were from the Lawn Fawn Really Rainbow Christmas. So I'm going to peel off the backer sheets of the foam tape that I added to my focal panel, and then I'm going to pop that down in the center of the card. I'll grab my Spectrum Noir clear glitter overlay pen and add a little bit of shine to the Christmas ornaments and to the candy cane, to the bows on some of the gifts, and to the polar bear's scarf. I did find that this erased the white gel pen, so if you are going to use something like this, you may want to be careful about where you put it. I also added some to the red of my Santa hat and to all of the light bulbs on the string. Then I'll bring in some glossy accents and add a layer of shine to my Christmas ornaments and to all of those little light bulbs. And this comes out milky at first, but it's going to dry perfectly clear and give them a nice gloss. And then I'm going to bring in my favorite crystal stickles and add a bit more shine to a few different areas. I'm going to add some to the polar bear's scarf and to the whites of the Santa hat and to a few of the bows on my gifts. I also decided to use it to add some more of a snowy effect to my trees. So I turned my card upside down once again, and I'm using the nozzle to pull that up, just mimic the lines of the white gel pen. And I'll also add a little bit to my sentiment, which I trimmed down with a Lawn Fawn Stitch Circle Stackables to look like the moon. And that is going to complete our card for today. There's a look at all that sparkle and shine and gloss, and another peek at the inside as well. So I hope you guys have enjoyed day 8 of my 2018 holiday card series. If you did, please be sure to give the video a thumbs up, and you can subscribe to my channel. You can also hit that notification bell if you want to be notified when I upload a new video. There'll still be lots more in this series to come. So thank you guys so much for watching. If you want to continue watching, here's 2 videos from the previous 2 years of holiday card series. Those are both from day 8. And you can click on either one of those. I hope you all have an amazing day. Bye-bye.